From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
We're seeing what we saw last year, where we have a cluster of outbreak in a school, or we had a cluster of outbreak in a team. We're seeing that, but we're not seeing a school-wide outbreak. Not to say it couldn't happen, but we haven't seen it.
As COVID cases nearly double, we check in with School District 2. Plus, the fastest six-person chairlift in North America is coming to Big Sky. We'll take you to the air with a Black Hawk helicopter as those towers go up. Good evening, and thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Those stories in just a moment, but first. For the second straight day, Montana tops 1,000 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, the virus spreading like wildfire across the state. Now, Yellowstone County adds the most new cases with 231 as we push 1,600 active cases tonight. Across the state, that total now trending toward 7,000. At this hour, there are 316 COVID-19 patients in Montana hospitals. 99 of those are right here in Billings. Q2's Russ Riesinger has more on the rising numbers across the county.
Here in Billings, Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton gave his monthly update on the COVID situation, and it was not good news. Felton said that COVID cases exploded in August and the trend is continuing in September. In fact, the 1,993 cases in August were as many as April, May, June, and July combined. He also talked about the strain the rising number of cases is putting on local hospitals and on Riverstone as workers there try to keep up with COVID tracing. Hospitals are at their highest capacity of COVID patients in 9 months, and more than 300 people in Yellowstone County have now died.
For now, what we need to do is this: encourage everyone age 12 and over to get vaccinated. Take science-based steps to prevent the spread of the pandemic virus and prevent infection among those too young for vaccination and those who are at high risk for severe illness. Reducing COVID-19 infections will keep our students healthy and safe at school. Reducing COVID-19 spread will keep workers safe and at their jobs. And reducing COVID-19 transmission will support our businesses by assuring a healthy, vibrant consumer base.
Felton said there are currently more than 1,500 active cases in the county, and that includes people who had been vaccinated who are still contracting the virus. However, he says those who are vaccinated are much less likely to get as sick or possibly even die from the virus. You can go to covid.riverstonehealth.org for more information on vaccinations and upcoming clinics.
Has nearly doubled across School District 2. The latest data shows a total of 94 more students and 13 staff members were confirmed COVID positive last week. That's in addition to 50 students and 13 staff members the week before. Now, I spoke with Superintendent Greg Upham, who says 3 elementary classes are now learning online from home after COVID clusters were confirmed. In this case, a cluster is when more than 10% of a classroom tests positive or shows symptoms of COVID. He says families have been very cooperative and those students will return after about 2 weeks. As for future plans, Upham says he has no intentions to move to remote learning district-wide.
There's no indicator staging us to go district-wide remote. We've told our teachers, to be prepared in case your classroom, we have to do a remote flip like we did last year periodically. We didn't do it very often, but it's just being prepared. I think what we're seeing is the masking is helping, obviously, and those that were able to have vaccinations, I think that's helping with that age group and staff. So as I said, we're holding our own pretty well, actually, for the number of cases that are occurring in the community. Not to say that it couldn't impact a school greatly, but right now, no, we're doing okay.
I also asked about potential changes to indoor sporting events. He said it is a challenge to manage that, but we have large enough venues that people can physically distance. A man's body has been recovered from the Yellowstone River. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says crews building the new bridge across the river near Dover Park spotted the body floating around 10 o'clock this morning. Now, deputies responded, removed the body, and took it to the state morgue here in Billings. A press release states there are no obvious signs of foul play, but the medical examiner will determine the cause of death. Linder says it does not appear that the body had been in the water for very long. Another lawsuit filed today challenging laws passed by the Republican-led legislature that make it more difficult to vote or register to vote here in Montana. The latest suit says the new laws unconstitutionally target younger voters. The suit asks a state district judge in Billings to strike down 3 new laws. Senate Bill 169, which makes it harder to use student ID to vote or register to vote. House Bill 176, which eliminates Montana's 15-year-old Election Day voter registration. And House Bill 506, which says those registered to vote cannot be given an absentee ballot until they turn 18. Now, 3 groups that promote voting by younger Montanans filed the action. They say the new laws affect young voters more than any others and therefore violate equal protection provisions of the state constitution. The lawsuit is the 4th such action filed in state courts this year, challenging those Republican-passed laws. We now bring in Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh, a sign that summer is not done yet. Fire and smoke still a major concern, Ed.
Let's add in thunderstorms too, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look. First, let's talk about where the smoke is going to be the biggest concern. Western Montana, where we already have a lot of smoke close to the surface, and through northern Wyoming. Tomorrow, we'll continue to look at red flag warnings across much of southwest and all of northern Montana east of the Continental Divide. A combination of hot temperatures, wind, and low humidity. And by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon and evening, we have the potential for some stronger storms, even localized flooding possible in areas of northwest Montana. So another day of close to record high temperatures, more smoke, and more potential for problems with fires. All the details coming up in a few minutes.
We know why we monitor air pollution, mainly for our health and environmental safety. But how do we monitor air pollution? The United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, has sensors that monitor pollution in over 1,000 different areas across the country. These sensors monitor about 5 different contaminants: ozone, particulate matter, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide, all of which in dangerous amounts are hazardous to us and the environment. Here in Montana, with all the smoke from the multitude of wildfires we are having, the pollutant we are most interested in measuring is particulate matter. The wildfires can increase these particulate matter levels several times higher than on the days when there are no wildfires. Particulate matter is a mixture of very small particles and liquid droplets that are suspended in the air we breathe. Large particulate matter can be seen by the naked eye in the form of haze, which we are all familiar with. The measurement of these pollutants is determined through the Air Quality Index. The higher the value, the greater the level of air pollution. Some pollutants are so small, however, they are almost an invisible threat. That is why it is very important to be familiar with your air quality report. In Lockwood, meteorologist Matthew Hidalgo, MTN News.
We are less than $4,800 away from reaching our Q2 goal for this year's If You Give a Child a Book campaign. If you'd like to jump in and add your donation, you can head to ktvq.com/book. Q2's Victoria Hill gives us some insight on the difference that your donation can make.
Do you remember that one childhood book you really enjoyed and it might have even changed your life? That's what we want to give students at Ponderosa Elementary School with our If You Give a Child a Book campaign. The Scripps Howard Foundation started If You Give a Child a Book in 2016.
We saw a really huge need whenever it came to ensuring that kids are set up academically to not just succeed in school, but to succeed in life.
The goal, give 10 books to each student.
Unfortunately, it is not hard to find children who don't have any books in their home, or if they do, they have very few.
Partnering with Title I schools, each book improves a child's chance at success.
The NWEA testing that our schools do each year in 2020 is our most recent figures. They showed that our Title I schools, you see a far lower number of students who are reading at grade level than you do in our non-title schools.
A national campaign involving more than 40 TV stations and schools across the U.S. the impact is local.
To know that all of the dollars raised here stay local, and the fact that the more funds that are raised, the bigger impact that we can have, the bigger reach that we can have right there in Billings, that's what really gives me a full heart.
It all culminates early next year when a Scholastic Book Fair arrives at Ponderosa Elementary.
I don't know if you remember the magic of a Scholastic Book Fair when you were in school, but there's really something special that happens there because kids are allowed to have the power of choice, meaning they get to pick out which books are most important to them and they want to take home and read.
Just as anybody else, when you get excited about reading, it's a much more enjoyable thing to do. So when we give those kids an opportunity to choose their book, to get excited about it, to take it home and to own it, it becomes a point of pride and something they're eager to do, which makes the barriers to reading lessen for sure.
In Billings, Victoria Hill, MTN News.
Coming up on tonight's 5:30 news here on Q2, a new ski lift is going up in Big Sky, and we're told it's going to be one of the best. We'll tell you why. And in sports, perseverance pays off. After battling injuries throughout his entire college career, this Billings senior grad is now leading the charge at Rocky.
The MTN 530 news continues right after this.